So February 25th, 1990, around 5:30 in the morning, Michael said he was sleeping and he was woken up by a loud thud. Now he wakes up, he notices like Terry's not in bed, so he gets up and that's when he finds Terri. She's laying face down on the floor, kind of like her body's halfway in the bathroom, halfway out. She's not responding, and it appears that she had a stroke. He calls 911. When police got there, they looked at the house and whatnot. They noted in their police report that no crime had been committed. There were no signs of a struggle or violence or anything like that, right? So police had asked Michael, like, do you have any idea what happened? Anything? And Michael told police that the only thing he knew was that Terri was struggling with quote unquote lady problems and that she hadn't been feeling well. So he told the police that she had just visited her gynecologist, everything came back normal, but they were going to see someone next week because she doesn't feel right, blah, blah, blah. Everything I just told you pretty much. And they're like, okay. Well, Terri gets taken to the hospital. Now, when she arrived there, she was unresponsive. So she's unresponsive, so they run blood tests on her. It shows no drugs or alcohol in her system. Well, to be fair, if you want to fact check me, there was like a small amount of alcohol, I believe, but it was nothing worthy of being noted. So they did a CAT scan, on her brain to see what's going on. And when they got the results back, it showed that there was a midline shift of her brain. So I was like, what does that mean? Tell me more. So midline shift, yes, is when your brain isn't sitting in the center like it's supposed to, usually because of pressure or swelling. So like in Terri's case, it was caused by the stroke. Now, if your brain shifts too much, it can press on certain areas of your brain, making it hard for that area to work properly because your brain controls everything, right? So like breathing, talking, or moving, if the pressure's too intense, it won't work. So it showed that her brain, it has shifted. Michael gets to the hospital and he's saying, as I could imagine, just everything was swirling, right? Just like, what the fuck is going on right now? Terri's mother and father, they came to the hospital as well, but everything was a blur, as you would imagine. So then a nurse came to the family and was like, hey, would you like a priest? I know. I was like, could you imagine? One night you're saying like, good night, love you. And like literally hours later, a priest is administering last rites to Terri. Now, mind you, she was only 26 years old. Same with Michael. They're only 26. She's 26, though. It made no sense to the family. Like, at all. What the hell happened? So a couple of days later, a doctor actually meets with Michael and tells him that Terri, his wife, had suffered from a cardiac arrest caused by a potassium imbalance. Yes, which led to brain damage due to lack of oxygen. So the doctor mentioned that they believed Terri was bulimic. When they were, doing checks and all that, they noted that she had overdeveloped neck muscles, and they believed it was caused from her throwing up. So they're explaining to Michael what bulimia is. Remember, this is the early 90s. Eating disorders and all that were not like in the conversation as much. They were, but like they weren't, So he explains to Michael what bulimia is, and essentially that with bulimia, the body can lose a lot of essential nutrients, especially like potassium, from vomiting, abusing water pills, or even like excessive laxative use. And potassium is really important. Not a doctor, I'll give you a little rundown here, but it keeps like your muscles, everything pumping, your heart working, everything flowing right. So without it, it throws everything off. Like in Terri's case, they believe she had like a long-term potassium imbalance, which most likely weakened her blood vessels, affected her heart rhythm, and then which may have triggered a stroke. Then her brain didn't get enough oxygen, which led to brain cells dying, causing the permanent damage. Wild, huh? Now, the potassium imbalance thing, it's rare. It's rare that this happens, but it can happen. Just want to make that clear. I don't know. So, because of all this left Terri in a persistent vegetative state, or PVS for short. Essentially, Terri was alive, but with severe brain damage. She could breathe on her own, but she couldn't eat or drink or communicate or anything. So in order to survive, she needed a feeding tube. Michael's by her side like every day at the hospital, like hoping some kind of miracle is going to happen. She's going to come out of it. But for the time being, Michael was appointed Terri's legal guardian. And Terri's family didn't resist that idea at all. They fully supported it. He's the husband, legal guardian. It made sense. So they were all on the same page, hoping for some kind of miracle recovery. And for the most part, though, Michael was by her side every single day. So the first few years after the incident, Michael worked really hard to get Terri the best care possible. So 8 months after she had collapsed, he found out about this experimental treatment they were doing out in California at the University of California at San Francisco. What a name. University of California at San Francisco. So he finds out about this experimental treatment that they're doing over there, and it seems kind of promising. It's not like some cockadoodie, like weird whatever. It seemed pretty credible. She ends up qualifying for this treatment. They fly out there. They do the treatment, which is essentially they perform a surgery and they put an implant in her brain, which would give off targeted electrical stimulation. Now, this was all with the goal of restoring her awareness or her responsiveness. So Michael had said that he had offered to fly Terri out to California, to be close to her daughter and just be supportive and there, whatever. But she had declined. She was like, no, I'm okay. I have too much stuff to take care of. I have to take care of my husband and whatever. I'm busy. She said no. And it was like, okay, girl, okay. After the implant and months of hoping for positive results with this implant, nothing happened, which must have been devastating. After this, a lot of money had been spent because he had to fly out there. He had to take care of Terri by himself. He couldn't work. He was her main caretaker, right? So he's did this. I think they were out there for 6 months to a year in California. And then that failed. So now he's like, okay, well, let's fly back to Florida to be closer to the family and look for other treatments. So Michael and Terri went back to Florida, where she would stay at a rehabilitation center, and she would receive at this place 24-hour care. So she was there for a bit, but Michael was always on the lookout for better treatment options, different treatment options, something better for her. So Michael would have her move to another facility a few months later where they had better neurological testing, and Terri would receive regular and aggressive speech therapy and what's the other therapy? Where they move you? You get it. That therapy too. They were known for for being good at this, okay? So Michael's let's move her there. While she's there, at this point it's been 2 years, I think. So time is going by and Terri is not making any progress. And also funds. I mean, it's expensive, right? In 1992, Michael ends up suing one of Terri's doctors for medical malpractice. And I was like, what? But remember when Terri in the beginning went to the gynecologist? Yeah, well, Michael sued that doctor because he said that doctor should have asked more questions to find out about Terri's health, because at this point he had found out Terri hadn't had her period in a long time. Now he knew she had an eating disorder. He felt like the doctor should have asked better questions to find out what was really going on with her. And whether you agree with that or not, it doesn't matter, because he ended up winning, and he won about $1 million. So Michael said that he put $750,000. He put that in a trust fund that was meant for Terri's medical care, point blank, period. And nobody else, nothing else. It was only for Terri's care. And you're like, wow, that's beautiful. That's exactly how it should be. I personally, when I was reading this, I was waiting for Michael to do something shady. He took the money and bought a Ferrari or something. He didn't. He put it in this trust fund. But you know how it is. When money comes into the picture, what happens? You think people are nice? No. Things get ugly. So Michael Mind you, Michael's the one who's like decided to do all this. He didn't get any help from Terry's family. He's the one freaking doing it all. And when he was awarded all that money, Terry's family, they felt like they deserved part of the settlement. I mean, it was their daughter. Michael refused, saying that the money was only going towards Terry's care. You do not get any of it, like it's only for Terri. But her family believed that Michael wanted it for himself. And tensions were building, and this is when all the drama starts. Seriously. It was like at this moment after he won this lawsuit, this is when everything, all this shit hit the fan.